Hey guys, how you doing? So I've been doing a lot of refactoring, and I have been refactoring the backend of the Sandbox Cloud AI Live Preview Collaborative Code Editor. And so in this short little video, I'm just going to go through what the backend is like now for the collaborators that may want to get involved and start making contributions to the backend. And so let's just have like a little look at what features the backend has right now. So you have these terminals, and these are connected to a cloud sandbox hosted by E2B, and we can inspect what's going on. We also have a file browser, and clicking on a file makes a request to the backend. And that just ignore this little error here. That's something we're fixing. But and that makes a request to the backend to get the files. We can of course save. We can of course save files. What else can we do? We have a deploy button, and we have a share button, and all of these features they go through WebSockets. And one of the more complicated parts of this is actually that you can stream live updates from the file system as the file system's updated to the file explorer here. And all of this is happening in a collaborative editor, and it works even if I have multiple windows open or if multiple people are working on the same sandbox, or at least it's supposed to work. And that's a lot of the work that I've been doing recently. So that's the overview. Now let's have a look at the source code behind all of this. So I'm going to share a branch of the a branch of the repository that I have been working on recently, and this is something that I will be merging today or tomorrow into the code base. So if we look at the Sandbox repository, you have like a front end and a back end. Ignore this, that's not supposed to be there. And on the back end, we have a server directory. Now, a few days ago, almost all of this code was in one large monolithic Express.js server file. We don't want that. That was just, we had features and features and features getting added in. So right now, the main server file is just a short 180-line file, which I'm quite happy with now. And so this is the server that is running the WebSockets. So anytime a event needs to get sent from the front end to the back end, let's say saving a file, or you press a key on the terminal, that sends a WebSocket event. Likewise, let's say a file gets changed on the back end and that needs to get updated on the front end, or what's another example of something that sends a notification to the front end? If there's terminal output, for example, then that sends a event the other way. So this is how we're doing that, and we do that all in one file for all-in-one server for all of the different sandboxes, because there are going to be multiple users with connections to the same sandbox. So that's what this is here. This is a list of all of the sandboxes on the server, and this is a list of all of the connections that users are making to the sandboxes. So I hope that makes sense. You could have multiple connections per sandbox. Obviously, one connection only has one sandbox. Now, the first thing that I just want to show you quickly is like, let's say we wanted to add a new feature, like a new button, onto the editor, and I know that's something that new contributors would be interested in. Like, let's say you wanted to add, say, a download button onto the editor. How do we go about doing that? Well, there's a class called, right now it's called Sandbox Manager, or it's called Sandbox, actually. I've just renamed it. So let's actually rename this file to Sandbox. And so this is, this Sandbox basically contains everything that regarding one sandbox, which could have multiple users connected to it. But so that's the idea of the sandbox, all of the files on the sandbox, the list of the files, and also some of the data in those files, all of the terminals. Now, not all of the users see all the terminals. Users still have their own terminals, but those are associated with one sandbox. That's how it's structured right now. And the E2B sandbox container, which is the actual, it's like a Docker container, which is the actual sandbox, which you can run Linux commands on. So this is the sandbox class. And if you scroll down, I won't go through everything here today, but if you scroll down, you'll find this part called handlers. And these handlers are events that the backend can respond to coming from the front end. So for example, if the front end requests to get a file, then we would look if there's we look if the file manager is there, and if so, pass that on to the file manager. A lot of these are pretty simple like that. The heartbeat is used, is a ping that's sent every, I don't know, certain period of time from the front end to ensure that, to tell the backend that the sandbox, that it still needs the sandbox so it doesn't time out. So that's another event. And we have a lot of events related to files. We have an event related to deploying the code, and there's more events related to files. We have events related to managing the terminals. So here's creating a new terminal, and this is the code that gets run when the terminal sends text data back to us, and we send a message back through the socket, back the other direction, to tell the front end that there's data to update the terminal. So all of these things, regarding the terminal, even doing a code generation is a event that gets passed from the front end to the back end. And then all of these events, they get put into this one big object, and the server, we can find a very important chunk of code on the server. And what this does is, it's a little bit hard to read right now, so I may add even more comments here as to what this is doing. But what this is doing is, it is basically getting all of those events from the sandbox. So I'm just gonna call this the sandbox, right? It's really the easiest thing to call it. And and then it's going to set up an event handler, and all that does is it runs the function on the sandbox class. If there's a callback, it takes the result of that function and then passes that back. So for like get file, for example, would have a callback because the front end needs to see the results of that. So that's really the cleanest way to do it. And we put that in try-catch blocks because you never know what could happen in these functions. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is, if you wanted to add, a new event on the back end, what you have to do is basically create a new function here. It has to be in this format where all of the attributes, all of the arguments are in one object. And for future work, I'm going to add types to these. It doesn't work right now, but that's an important thing that we need to add. And then, and of course, you need to add it to this list. and you have available to you when you're adding these functions. What you have available to you is you have the file manager for accessing files. You have the terminal manager for running commands. For creating and removing terminals, and then importantly, you have the container. Also known as the E2B sandbox. And then what else you have available to you in these is these variables. These ones are different because these ones change depending on which connection it is. All of those objects above, they're the same for every sandbox. These ones are the same for a connection. So what user is connected? Is that user the owner of this sandbox? So for example, we use that for the heartbeat because only the owner can stop the sandbox from timing out. And then this is just a socket which can be used to send events back asynchronously to the front end. So those are all of the things that you can use inside of these handlers. They're called event handlers. And that's really it. That's the overview of how to add handlers. Now, one more thing is you're probably wondering now, how do I use this from the front end? So I haven't been doing much with that recently because I'm mainly on the back end. But so I can just show you an example of how that works on the front end. Let's just take this one, create file. So handle create file would be, we can just search through the whole code base for this. And we'll see that's attached to the event called create file. So if I search for this, I'll find some code on the front end. And what we get is the code that's basically, the code looks like this to call the backend from the front end. Socket.emit, and so that's going to send an event through the socket, create file, so the name of the event, the object in the exact format that it's expected to look like here. So exactly like this. And if you do it wrong, you won't see a type error right now, which is something that we're going to fix. And then optionally is a callback. So if this method returns an object, then that can be received through this third argument, which is the callback. So in this case, it just tells the backend to create a file. The backend will then create the file, and then we'll call this afterwards, saying the file's been created successfully, and then it updates the list on the left side, adding the file itself there. So that's like a slightly more efficient way of doing it than refreshing all of the files in the list on the left side. So I'd say that's basically what you need to know to get started. Some topics that I might go into further later would be sort of what is this connection manager doing here in the sandbox. Basically, it's keeping track of the different of who's connected to what sandbox and if the owner is connected or not, which is important. And yeah, other things that I might go into would be, for example, how does the file manager work? Don't look too hard at this one right now. I'll probably be rewriting some of this pretty soon, but basically it just stores the list of files and connects to permanent file storage, which the sandbox doesn't provide, and which is handled by this class, remote file storage. And yeah, there's classes for the terminal manager, Doku client, which is used to actually deploy the finished applications to the cloud, AI worker used to generate code with AI. Rate limiting, which is used to prevent the particular event handlers from getting overloaded. The Git client is used to deploy. So I said we have a Docker client, which is used to actually like deploy applications to the cloud. But the Git client is used to actually push those files to be deployed. Socket auth is just used to verify that the user in a connection is the actual user and whether they're the owner of the sandbox. And yeah, that's just a little overview of everything on the back end. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, ask me more questions on Discord if you have them. Anyone who's watching this, and yeah, we'll probably make way more in-depth videos of the source code of Sandbox coming up. So see you later.